My name is Chris Hoffman.
I'm Lisa Robinette, and I wanted to share my experience of the Intuitive Intensive with Crystal Anne Compton and Tricia Carr.
The Intuitive Intensive was life-changing.
I truly believe that the program is life-changing.
Life-changing. There we go, done. Life-changing.
I am a intuitive reader, channel, and a psychic development teacher and coach. These are not words that I thought I would be describing myself as at the beginning of 2018. Sitting here as a graduate of the Intuitive Intensive, I can tell you how powerful the teachings are of Crystal Anne Compton, the founder of the Lightworkers Lab, and Tricia Carr. Sorry. I do love them so very much, and I am so grateful for the teachings that they have taught me through this course.
Sign up for the Intuitive Intensive. Just keep saying yes and be open and go forward with your heart and with love, and you'll get to where you want to go.
Really fun.
Welcome to Charmed Life, a multimedia podcast discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to this exceedingly special episode of Charmed Life because, well, I should say, if you're new to the podcast, then you don't know that I have my two Best Fs of all the Fs right here in studio with me.
The beast. The beast.
I have Crystal Anne Compton and Lauren Antuofermo in studio with me. These two ladies are truly, we are a trio, a coven of BFFs. Mm-hmm. Yes. And they live in different states. And so we're all here together having our, well, we need to make it like semi-annual.
I think so.
At least annual girls trip that we do. We get together. We love on each other. We vent. We criticize our own looks.
Like normal people do.
We talk about our asses, and then we also...
Non-asses.
For me, too.
Asses.
Asslessness. The ass capacity. It's never quite right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then we also talk about the work that we're creating together. We talk about the world. We talk about eternity.
Yes.
I don't know. We've been together now a day and a half, 2.5 days. Yeah.
About 2.5 days now.
And this morning we were talking about the state of ascension. We were talking about New Earth. We were talking about spiritual community. We are talking about what it means to be a spiritual servant and a spiritual leader, because those are one and the same. And, well, let's talk about who you guys are. So,
okay.
Lauren.
Hi.
Transdimensional shift facilitator.
Yes.
Wow. I know.
That came through a channeling, and I'm like, really? But it's so fun to say, and I was like, ooh. Yeah. And it's just basically...
True.
Talking about everything you just mentioned, like talking everything from earth and everyday stuff all the way up to ascension and love and higher purpose, but all being able to see that with clarity and love.
Yeah. And so astrology is one of the archetypes with which you work. You work with and teach the Akashic Records.
Yes.
You are just completing the inaugural Akashic Records intensive.
Yeah, the first time we taught it.
Lab. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. Yeah, you channel, like that's one of the really primary ways that you serve.
Yes,
yeah.
That was one. That was the first thing. Like at the base level, I always called myself an archangel. Realm reader. Yeah.
I was like, I know that one too.
Because they were the first beings that like I met in spirit, you know, so I always had like, that's my base. So that's my foundation.
Yeah. Well, you said this morning that you were channeling before, like we were all in our own sequestered area in my house. And, and so you were channeling this morning. So it's kind of it's maybe even a daily practice for your own growth.
It is. Yeah. A lot of people go into meditation and then they get like visions and things like that where am very word driven. So it's either in my head, or sometimes when it feels like I have to pay attention too much, I'll just channel it out loud. And so, and I try to do it soft so nobody heard me. I'm like, oh my God, they must think I'm crazy. But no, it was really cool. It was really cool talking.
You're in good company for crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was really cool because they were talking about chakra systems and being like really grounded and seeing how we integrate rather than facilitate sometimes. Like sometimes it's facilitation and sometimes it's integration. And maybe that's one of the things that we talk about.
Oh, yeah, integration. Absolutely. Well, Crystal.
Yes.
So Crystal is an intuitive channel, spiritual teacher, prolific YouTube content creator. She's a lot of
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you and I have been working together now 3 years. I mean, we've all been working together 3 years, actually.
Around the same amount of
Yeah,
time, but it
that's
feels like so much longer than that. And not because it's a bummer, but
Yeah.
it just feels like we've been in each other's lives forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like forever.
I got one of those Facebook memories. You and Crystal Anne Compton have been friends on Facebook for 2 years. It was last year, 2 years. And Brian looked over my shoulder and he's like, you guys crammed 10 into 2.
Yes,
Truly.
Yeah,
Can't believe
truly.
it. Yeah. And it was actually over the internet because, we all live in different states.
Yeah, I think you emailed me or something, and I forget what the first email was about.
So I remember, obviously, because I had been caught onto your YouTube channel, and I was actually hanging out with my friend Hoku, and you were talking about, it's on your channel still, and you were talking about how you had a vision that there was a spiritual teacher who was watching one of your videos and like kind of hating on you. And then Spirit said to you, you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's how we connected.
Yeah.
That's how we connected because we both know who that is.
We
now,
both,
don't we?
yeah. So you were like, and Spirit basically said, who do you want to be? Like, do you want to be certain kind of teacher on YouTube, content creator that maybe, and we were actually talking about that indirectly earlier today, that's sort of, I don't know, offering something that, are you going to be your authentic self? I think that's probably right. And are you going to do the hard work even or whatever? And so I was like, I had a download. I knew what spiritual teacher, who's a popular teacher, who she was talking about. And I had just had a parallel experience because you had started investigating this person because it was like,
Right.
like there's confusing vibes about this person and there's some truth there and then whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wrote her like out of the blue. I actually commented on the video and I said, this is so weird. I have a strange parallel with what you're talking about. And I think I know who you're talking about. And then I messaged you on Facebook and I said, it's this person.
Yeah.
And we're not talking shit.
No, not at all.
No.
No, we were connecting over that. But I would get, and I still do get many, many emails, and I would not be able to answer all of those emails, but yours just lit
it
up
popped
for me.
out.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's how we met.
And then we just fell in love.
Yes, we did.
And then we're just messaging back and forth. Me too.
And I had just met her, really. She was in the lab, and I noticed, and you went up live, I think, in the Lightworkers lab. And I'm like, ooh, she's special. She's something about her is very sparkly. And I reached out to you. It was like around the same time.
Yeah, because I was watching you for a little while, and then I took one of your first courses.
Yeah. Which one? Do you remember which
Everything
one?
Psychic.
Yeah, okay. Figured, because that was like one of the first ones.
Yeah. And she had invited me, like, if you took at the time one of the courses, you can be invited to the lab. And I waited, I waited a while, and I was like, screw it. I just kept being drawn back to it. I was like, all right. And then I started commenting here and there, because at the time, it wasn't a big deal, Facebook, right?
Yeah. Well, and groups certainly weren't.
Yeah.
Groups were pretty brand new.
No, and but as it is still today, it felt like a very safe place. And so I started like talking about some of my weird experiences. And Crystal, again, who does the same thing today, comes in, reassures, explains, and now she's created a whole teacher group that does the same thing for this larger group that she had at that. I'm talking about you like you're not here. But
it's like about 120, 150 people.
Yeah.
When I joined, it was just under 200.
Yeah.
Because I took the blueprint.
Right.
Yeah. And
oh my gosh, guys.
What's
I took the blueprint too.
You did, yeah, I did. So what was so crazy is that I actually I started this podcast like 2 weeks before I took the blueprint and joined the lab. And like just when you look back at the timeline, like
And
knew?
how far we've come and what we're building and what's coming in. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we should talk about what the Lightworkers Lab is.
Yes.
I mean, I talk about it all the time, but still, again, think about people who are seeing or hearing this for the first time. The Lightworkers Lab is a spiritual community that Crystal founded. It's hosted on Facebook as a group. But it is just so much, and how Facebook has grown, and it's almost like groups are like a whole different thing now.
Yeah.
But it is a proper community.
It is. And we have guidelines. We have codes of conduct. We cannot get into the group and start acting up and acting crazy. We really do want to come from a space of love. It's very inclusive. You don't have to have a certain set of beliefs to belong there. You can be an agnostic. You can be an atheist and still come in and just check it out and be curious about it. So it's it's a spiritual community, and it's super diverse, and we offer a lot of educational opportunities. We've always got somebody going up doing readings or healings. It's just an enriching platform. And for people who are established in their spirituality, it's a home. But for people who are just emerging and asking questions, it's a great place to go and make friends, join a program, learn more. There's always something going on.
I know. I love that you say that. There's always something going on.
There is.
And
There
you can,
is.
if you go there, and you can, in the search bar function, whatever you think, you're like, okay, this is really weird. Like someone I think posted recently, okay, this is maybe weird, but what do you guys think about aliens? Like the nervous.
It's not weird.
But I remember, actually, I was even thinking about this morning, because you were saying that I'm probably actually Leo ascendant, because my birth time is probably inaccurate. And I remember the first benevolent ETs that I connected with. It was before I was in the lab, before I knew you guys. I just got synchronicity. I was being contacted by Lyrans, which are lion people.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, like, I've gone bonkers now. Like, this is weird. No, this is weird, though.
Yes.
And then you did a course called Many Mansions.
Right.
Like,
it's not that weird.
Yeah.
all about the ET races and everything. So,
Well, but I remember both of you going up the first time, and nobody really knows this, but every time a new broadcaster comes up or goes live, I sit there and I'm just like, just cheesing and grinning. I'm so proud. I'm like, oh my God, look at Lauren. She's so good. And look at Tricia. She's so good. And now we have all these new broadcasters coming in and doing readings and teachings. And me and Jeremy just sit on the couch and we're like, we had a hand in this. And it's just it's so wonderful.
Well, what's cool about that is I think we now get to have that feeling about them.
Yes, absolutely. Because you've had a hand in training them. So
Yeah.
What
They're
I-
so cool, the new ones.
oh,
They
it is.
are.
I know I love the fresh perspective, and we're learning from them. I do love to be on the new broadcasters. Watch their work. It's so exciting.
Yes.
And of course the old farts too.
Of course,
all
like
these
us.
oldies. Yeah.
that's us.
We've been doing it for all of 3 years. So.
But still, yeah.
What I think is so amazing about the lab and the community of it is it truly is, I mean, dare I say the word utopic, but it is, because, so like Crystal said, there's code of conduct, there's guidelines, and that is more actually their intentions for an intentional community, and they actually give you freedom.
Yes.
You feel so comfortable because the only guideline and everything else is kind of like the law of one, and then all of the other universal laws are just different interpretations or perspectives of that law of one, and that is the guideline. Really, the only guideline is come from love and expect that someone else is coming from love.
Yes, and give them the benefit of the doubt. And even if you disagree, just assume, and you taught me this, assume that they are doing their very best in that moment and treat them accordingly. And we don't have a lot of crazy rules. It's not like we are too strict. It's just like we have to always be communicating in the energy of what we say we believe. We have to be showing up in that energy.
Yeah. And what I really like about it is that there's plenty of space for arguments and fights and challenging, like there's on the internet.
Yeah,
like
that's
the
in your home.
standard. Right.
Some people in your home or at work. So why not try something else?
Why not come to a place that, especially, and what I really like is that it became a home for people who didn't have anywhere else to go to ask these questions, to talk about these issues, to feel safe in saying, oh, I had this experience. What does that mean? Like it became so pertinent to the conversations that we have as a group of leaders who want to help people out of the confusion, out of the fear, out of the state of thinking that they have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
To just do some space for self-discovery. And I think that's important, really one of the values of the lab.
When, as I say, the communication, like you can truly expect to be there to love and to be loved. And my life has shifted in that way. I used to act and I used to do production, and I had in my former life, not like literally a past life, but like a long time ago. And my association with being on set was, oh, people are judgmental and they're snobby and they're arrogant and everyone's uncomfortable and nobody wants to be there except for the famous person and all that kind of stuff. But I did a TV show yesterday, and everybody, it was like being in the Lightworkers Lab. Every person in the crew, all of the talent, everybody was lovely and loving and kind. And I expect that in the world because I get to expect that. Yeah. And it's I actually was talking about that in my meditation. They told me this morning, and the guides were telling me, we were talking about, I don't know, the new earth, or the earth is changing, or what's going on with society, and how do light workers serve, facilitate, serve and lead, because again, like I said, the same thing. And one of the things they stressed to me was you do it in your own life too. So you live presence and trusting the light rather than vibrating with the density or the pain, and you trust it. And so that's what has happened. I've sort of been trained to expect love and expect that I get to love. I mean, it reminds me of the 10 Commandments, a perspective that I heard. I don't remember if I just heard this myself or if someone preached it once when I was in the church. And they were talking about the 10 Commandments, and that you can say, like, thou shalt not kill. Right. That's how we think of it, as like, you're not allowed to. God will punish you. But really, the children of Israel had come out of this pain, this slavery, and Moses went on the mountaintop, and he had, channeled this, and it was a freedom declaration. You no longer have to kill, right? Because as a slave, you have to kill or be killed. Right. You don't have to. You shall not. You do not. You shall not. And so it's like, you shall not be afraid to express yourself anymore here in the Lightworkers Lab. Yeah. Crystal is Moses.
How did we get there? No, but it's also a fundamental of manifestation, when you just believe that the interactions are that way. And when you have a space like the lab or a spiritual community where that is how people treat one another, and you train yourself to do that, and you go out in the world and you get what you expect and what you believe is true. Yeah. So I think that it's just a really important space. And also, I think when people are awakening spiritually, it's such a precarious time, especially if your family is not spiritually open, if they're religious, or if they're not. Just having the different experiences can be very frightening, or, you just isolating. So having a place where you can go, ask questions, not be judged is really important.
And I think that is what where we are. I mean, we're women of, about 21 years of age, each of us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, but I'm kidding. Of course, I always do that. But we're mature, and we are we've been having these experiences off and on in our lives, and we opened up to a certain degree out of conditioning. Yeah. But the kids, the younger generations, the generation younger than us, and then even the younger ones are coming in, maintaining that openness. And so it's the world, the vibration of the planet we can see has changed. Yes. And so I really do mean, like, this is a microcosm of how things are shifting and how things are now, and how you can live your life, though.
Yeah, what is possible.
Yeah.
Very short time. I think we were discussing that earlier, like how little time it went just for when I started, where I didn't even ever hear the word empath. It was a new thing then. And now, like, it's on, I watched a TV show the other day and it was like, well, I'm an empath. I'm like, what? It's on TV now? It's like, that's how popularized it is. Yeah. And so it's like really amazing. But that means and that's how quickly we've grown, because of how important it is to have a safe space to explore these things, and have people who will do right by the explanations, right by the freedom to see your own point of view, and then see how you can be assisted and not weirded out by these things, where it's almost becoming normalized, but still need.
It's natural.
Us 21-year-olds to with the experience, or just have the space of, oh, this is how I experienced this, and have that space where they can explore it without feeling judged or feared.
Well, and I think I'm also wanting to talk about how it's kind of hard to find authenticity on social media. You go on Instagram, it's a bunch of ass shots, it's a bunch of veneer, it's a bunch of superficiality, and how important it is as teachers, but also in a community, to be who you are in the process that you're in and to show that to other people so that they can connect with that. It's a lot of it is really fake, it feels like, and
there
so
are walls.
It's important.
There's not genuine connection available.
Right. Like, and I don't feel I can participate because I don't look like that, or I don't have that, or you know what I mean. So there's a lot of barriers that come with social media, and I worry a little bit about the kids coming up with the saturation of this imaging and this transmission and this programming, and it's not authentic. It's not really real. So that's one thing that I love that we do. I mean, we're real. I just made a video last week about my spiritual skincare regimen. I'm like, it's Botox. You know what I mean? It's like, it's Botox, totally. But like, I just want to be honest about how I live my life and how I connect to spirit in real and practical ways.
Yes.
I love that. And it actually is helpful to, even if it's talking about, I get Botox or something like that. Because if you are someone who feels isolated for whatever reason, like you said, the authenticity factor, if I don't look like that or something, then I can't do that. But I may just not want to do that. I don't have the urge to present in certain ways. I'm not interested in it, but there is a perception, there is a kind of conditioning that's begging that says, well, then you shall surely die then if you do not kind of adapt to a certain kind of conditioning. You can't be successful if you aren't presenting marketing in a certain way, or I mean, some of these people, it's about being a social influencer.
Right. Yeah.
For kids, they don't even think of it as marketing, but kids now, they think they have to have a brand.
Right.
And they may be 15 years old.
Yes.
It's like, but why do you need a brand? You're not selling anything.
Right. They're selling themselves.
That's what they're trained to do now.
Sorry.
No, that's right.
One of the things that I keep talking about, like in the lab and, on my own stuff, is that sense of authenticity where it's almost becoming a sense of like authority, discernment, dominion, things that allow you to take in information, because let's face it, we are bombarded in a way that that we weren't when we were growing, younger, right?
Totally.
And you have to develop that
Can
sooner.
you imagine? Yeah.
And with more integrity on the line, because of how much influence there is, you have to be able to say, hey, this is how I am researching something without, changing the dial on who you are, but you can take in information without shifting your whole life or feeling fear that you're not living the right life right away, that you can actually change your mind and be discerning and take in information. And the more that you align with that perspective of self-authority, but aligns with love, like God's will is your will as long as it's aligned with love, right?
Yeah.
And so when it aligns with that, you feel more present. You don't feel so disassociated from life because of the industry. You feel more connected to other people because you have that sense of stable grounding that says, I can take in information, but not resist it or reject it. Like I can take it in without harming my sense of self.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yes. It's interesting when Lauren and I were chatting earlier today and you weren't around, and just kind of a little bit of a download came down when we were talking about.
Yes. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it's feeling like now I understand a little bit. It's like relevant what we're talking about. So we were just talking about the concept of spiritual technology and what does that mean. And there was a few months ago I was in a class on my my membership platform, the Mystic Arts Academy, and the message was coming through about, hey, light workers, spiritual technology is what you need to be working with more and more. And one of the students even asked me when I was out of channel, when I was, just cognitive, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? And I didn't have an answer. I mean, I wasn't pulling it through right now. It was just kind of like go and just take those words, that concept, and work with it. But it was a little bit about sacred geometry and obviously obvious divination things that we do. But it's really more what we think of as technology, but that you already have all of that. So the internet is essentially like telepathy and connecting, and it's all of your intuitive abilities. However, so this morning, Lauren and I were talking about that just to give a little background. And it was like Spirit said, basically, when you ignore the call to do the things that are inauthentic, and to the pulling to, if it's marketing or having a brand in a way that is inauthentic, and you ignore the angst about it and the call.
Yeah, you were calling it the matrix.
The matrix, yeah. When you ignore the matrix, it becomes your servant. It becomes your slave. And that was so interesting. It's like, lest you become a slave to it, you just ignore it, and then it instantly becomes your tool. And they were saying it's like a child, because it is unintelligent. It isn't connected to omnidimensionality. Yeah. So compared to intelligence, it's unintelligent. And so like a child, when you ignore their bad habits, when a kid like curses or something, or they're throwing a fit, you don't engage, you kind of pull your energy back, and then the child pursues you, because now the child wants to understand why you not feel
reacting
whole.
To it.
Yeah, and why you feel whole. And so it will actually pursue you and become your slave, the matrix and the tools of it. So that was just kind of shocking to both of us to think of it that way.
It was really cool, because you get those little things every day. Like you walk into a room and you feel confident that day and present, and you feel really good. And it's almost like, when somebody says, oh, the room lights up, or you working the room or whatever, it's not like, oh, look at me, but it's because you feel good enough that you're not reacting to the room.
Right.
Then the room reacts to your presence.
Yes, I love that.
Good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. When you aren't kind of begging, so essentially it creates a balance. When you aren't begging when you aren't begging the system or the matrix, or the booty shots on Instagram, because you don't do that. When you're not like feeling a lack about that, and you kind of disconnect your energy from it and be whole yourself, then it actually pursues you, and it becomes a tool. And as I said, I don't want to show my booty, fine as it is. I don't want
it
to.
Is.
I'm not interested in it. And not because I think it's bad, or it's like, it doesn't even occur to me. It's not interesting. It never has, even when it was tighter and younger and higher. But it just hasn't been something that appeals to me. And to use sexuality for myself in that way. I like being quirky and funny. I like to say dirty things, but anyway, just to qualify it, I'm not judging anyone. Yeah. But it will, whatever it is, like I was saying earlier, like Eckhart Tolle and Esther Hicks, they don't use bells and whistles, and yet the success finds them, because we need what they're channeling, what they're bringing through.
Oh, we had that conversation.
We did have that conversation.
You did? Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
It's funny. Like, as we're talking, I'm like, everything we've been talking about for the past 3 days is like literally coming together in this conversation. Yeah. But speaking, like, we, talking before, we talk about our asses, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I mean, there is some vanity. Like, I do have a little bit of vanity, and I don't mind. Like, I like playing with makeup and looking good, and I do like me a good selfie on a good makeup day. You know what I mean? But I guess there's a difference between enjoying the process of that and feeling I have to use it to define me.
Right. Without it, you are nothing.
Right.
You are not worthy.
Right. It's a tool, and it's meant to be a tool, and you're the master. And any time that we let the tool become the master, then it's using us, and we become a slave to it. And so that's essentially, we are the spiritual technology. Yeah. And the technology is, we are. I mean, we are the expression of God. We are source energy's tools. We're tools. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? Like that it's not a hierarchy, but it is an organization. And if we do put something above us, and we let this thing that's already created, it's like letting the ego mind be the thing that's driving. And if the matrix is the thing that's driving, and we're trying to catch up to it, we never will.
No.
Yeah. It'll be a carrot on a stick.
I know.
And by not doing it, you set yourself apart, and more people will notice you, and the people who are authentic can connect with you. Whereas, in a sea of butts, perfect butts, you're going to stand out and be like, I relate to her, because she doesn't have
a perfect butt.
Right. And it's important to be authentic. It's truth. It's what it is.
And it's validating them. We have in society people being marginalized and trying to figure out how to not marginalize people anymore. And then yet somehow that is imploding in on itself, because now that's creating more separation in some of those conversations. And really what it is about, I always say energy is very literal. And it's something we have to relearn, because the conditioning is very complex and indirect. And when, if we talk about your world outside is just, it's an outpicturing of who you are. So it doesn't mean if you have a boss who's being a dick to you that you're a dick. That's not what it is. It means that you are vibrating, you're sending out a signal that that's okay. You know what I mean? Like it's a deeper level than that.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even find, you wouldn't find the compatibility if it weren't for, what, or, I mean, I guess the opposite is true too, that if you were a dick, then you would attract more dicks so that pattern can enhance itself. See, like, how spiritual I am. How many spiritual teachers use the word dick as much as we do? Well, me at least, I don't know.
I say boobs a lot. I see the F word a lot. I do say the F word a lot. I don't know if I could do it here.
Yeah, you can. What do you mean?
Fuck. I don't mean to be rude. Sorry.
We already made Kurt blush.
I know, he's blushing.
You know what I wanted to ask you? Because so many of us, you're like the teachers that you have curate, like, I wouldn't say cure, but taught and have helped, in their own paradigm. Like, you don't have a system that you're teaching on what to believe. Mm-hmm. So I do astrology, she does numerology. Like, we have these systems, and you don't, which is, I think, is key.
I don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
To the way.
Maybe universal architecture, but but that's not really, I mean, I don't really, and by the way, I have to say again, I don't do numerology. I'm not a numerologist.
Shut up.
That's because I'm not an expert. I'm not, this is, not because I'm saying it.
But you use it as a tool, right?
I do, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you would use it for like.
Sometimes I use it as a hook in, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess my point is, like, you don't really. You have like kind of like you talk about grid, you talk about space, you talk about belief, but it is very universal.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that whatever underneath that can be developed, where I had the freedom to explore astrology.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that might come from just a very overly fundamental background where there were so many rules and so much dogma that I resist really attaching myself to certain systems. I mean, I believe in divination, and there are systems that work, astrology, numerology, but I don't define myself by that because I'm always changing. And also tools can be useful, but then they can fall into obsolescence and they're no longer useful. But there's, for me, just a couple of absolutes, and that's what I define myself by. And that would be that love is everything and that we're all connected. And I believe there is a God, and it's not the God that I grew up with, but I believe in it. I believe in a creator. I believe that there's a reason that we're here, and that there's something beautiful about every person. And so it's very broad strokes for me. I used to be very interested in teaching about psychic abilities and all that stuff. And I love that stuff. I read about that. We talk about that all the time, but I really like to dwell just in the space of source energy, creator, love. And I like to occupy that. I like to shine that, because there's a lot of teachers who do the specified stuff. You guys do it better than I do. And so I'd rather leave you guys to do it. You know me in astrology. I never remember my ascending.
For 3 years I've been asking, what's your moon sign? And she still cannot remember her moon sign.
When I'm trying to know what my husband's birth date and time is, I have to ask Lauren, when is he born again? I don't remember. I don't retain that stuff. I just never really have.
I got the moon and the ascendant, but apparently maybe I have the wrong ascendant anyway, because my birth certificate is probably wrong. And it makes a lot of sense. I got those three, but everything, Lauren will ask me, she's like, where's your Venus? And I'm like, I don't know. Is that about Brian? I don't
But I mean,
these are the things I know. Well, if you know anybody like into astrology, they have to know this. Like, if
I get it,
everybody, I'm like, do you know what time you were born? And they're like looking at me weird. I'm like, it's like background. It's like a background checks for people. In the psychic world or in the astrology, we do background checks by looking at your birth chart. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I value that too. To me, astrology is so complex. I can't track it. It's interesting when we talk about it.
And now you're
but I'm going to leave it to you as the expert.
Yes.
I'm not an expert either.
Yes,
I'm like your general practitioner.
You actually really are. I mean, on a spectrum, here I am, not even on the spectrum, and then you are definitely the person I would go to with regard to any of that.
Well, here's the thing: the fact that you know so much about it that you know that you don't know as much as could be known. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the things that it makes a teacher an expert teacher is that they're a constant student. You know?
Yes. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah. there is a phrase, there's some kind of old saying, some old aphorism or something about the man who knows the least is the man who thinks he knows everything, or something like that. Or maybe it's the opposite. The wisest man believes he knows nothing. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm using the masculine pronouns. Oh my gosh. To me, the masculine pronoun is the neutral pronoun because I'm 1,000 years old, and it doesn't call to me patriarchy or something like that. And that's how I came up a little bit impervious to it, maybe a little bit, but on the other hand, I don't know. Obviously, the system is the system. Does that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I'm teaching or something, I'll mix in
I think so. I'm like, there's so many things. We can go like on a
Yeah.
whole other show
a lot of directions.
about this. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
which direction do I go, or just leave it be, because we'll be here for another hour or two.
Let's leave it. Yeah, let's leave it. So, well, Crystal and I, we should talk about the intensive
2020 Intuitive Intensive. It starts on February 3rd. We already have a really cool community assembling. We also have 22 former students that are going to be returning to Grid and Anchor the Space. And it is a transformative program. I mean, if you are interested in connecting spiritually or figuring out who you are in the spiritual cosmos, if you are interested in opening up your intuition to see if you are intuitive, and you are. Definitely intuitive. Yeah. And you want to work with your abilities, and you want to amplify them, and you want to use them for natural purposes or practical purposes or for fantastical purposes to make connections with those Lyrans, just like you were talking about. This program is geared or designed to open up those faculties and abilities. And I'm super excited. And one of the most wonderful aspects of the program for us as teachers is that the energy moves through us. It doesn't originate within us. And so as we teach it, even if it's been produced before, like a year ago or 2 years ago, as we are offering it, and truly,
I know, if we watch it, I'm like, wow.
The first class, I was going to reproduce it, but I'm like, oh, but that's so damn good about Dominion. I just need to. My hair looks terrible. The production quality is awful, but it's so powerful, and even just being in the energy of it tunes us. It continues to tune us, so we receive just as much. And as a community, it is so dynamic. It is so evidential. It's active. We already have people having dreams, and we already have people, things are starting to pop off in their intuitive life, and we haven't even begun yet. And I know we say this all the time, and I know it sounds like, just a script. It's not. It is a special program. It's extremely affordable. It is never going to, you hear me say this? It is never going to be this affordable. I mean, it's always going to be affordable. It's never going to be this cheap again, because I mean, I have to work on that aspect where I want to make it available to as many people as possible. But at the same time, the content is so comprehensive, so sophisticated, so powerful that we have to price it accordingly. So after 2020, heads up.
We have to, because we're being asked more and more, and we do live in a system where we have to hire more people, and we have to make ourselves more and more available, and we actually, we have to give enough space for it, and just the resources have to come into alignment, and that's great. And we've been so fortunate. Everyone
to be able to do as much
I mean, it comes out to it's a 12-week program. 8 weeks are immersive education, and 4 weeks are coaching, group coaching, where people are actually practicing working with their abilities, many for the very first time. Some not for the first time. They're actually already practicing intuitives or mediums or whatever or healers, but they're learning something new, or they're trying it in a new way. And so we all just grow. But the thing that is the community. So the program is in registration right now. We actually start the program, that immersive education part of it, on February 3rd, or the week of February 3rd. But there is the community that's hosted on Facebook where people are already, it's an incubator for this powerful growth.
Well, I think where you were going with that was, I think it's like $35
something crazy
a week,
like that. $35 a week.
Yeah.
2 2-hour classes plus all the techniques. You do a meditation for each week, usually more than one meditation. There's techniques, there's exercises.
Well, you two are the teachers. Let me talk about it from the viewership.
Right.
Okay. Because it's 12 weeks. Now, being a student of and looking elsewhere for things, each week in other areas that you teach, like each subject that you guys teach as a course out in the other places, cost as much as each of the topics that you teach in that class. Number one.
No doubt.
Plus there's no one-on-one time. There's you allowed 22 people back in for free to take advantage of all the extra stuff that you've provided this year, and so that they can be almost mentoring or big to help new students.
Yes.
So they're not just getting teaching and coaching and group facilitation and almost one-on-one with each other. They're getting support from like big sister or big brother, like people in there that have been through the course already and is going to guide them. Like, and that's how much the people who previously took your course love it so much that they would come back and serve in that capacity.
For 12 weeks. That's a whole
For
season.
12 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is remarkable. This is the third year we're doing it.
It's the forerunners to a bigger dream that all three of us have for more programs, you know, an academy, dare I say, should I speak it into existence?
Speak it. I just got goosebumps.
I want to do that. And the emphasis on these paid programs, I mean, some people are like, well, why do I have to pay it? You don't have to if you don't want to. It's like, it's going to, but in the Lightworkers Lab itself, we offer so much content. There's a free library with over 100 lessons. Most of them are video. There's all kinds of good free stuff or just a community or to acquaint yourself with what community, a good, loving, beautiful community feels like. You've got the lab for that. But I do want us to provide that higher level, like your Akashic Records.
Oh my gosh.
Intensive. Oh my God. So sacred, so sophisticated. We probably need a prerequisite for it just because it's just so
and the mediumship too.
Yeah,
I
the
think
mediumship as well.
those intense the specialized ones like the Akashic Records and the mediumship, that it may be, we don't know, but it may be coming up that something like the intuitive intensive or some other prerequisite course, or maybe a personal development course.
That's what we're really going to be talking about this weekend.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Because in the intuitive intensive, there's personal development built in. In those 8 weeks, we're working on we're learning the chakra system, and we're doing our own interpersonal work, which you have to do if you are a spiritual practitioner.
You can't sustain it if you don't do the personal work.
Yeah. And so that's built in.
Yes.
But the ones where there are specialized topics, it's, you know, you're learning a modality and you're learning a skill. Same thing with my animal communication program. You know, in order to connect and do the work that you want to do, you have to do the work inside in your own home, essentially, like how we started talking about in the beginning of this. Yeah.
And I think that's cool about how we do it is that we make sure that care is put in there. Like, it's not just about, you know, psychic abilities. It's also about the integrity of it, the ethics of it.
Yeah, ethics are huge, and that's I remember when it was I reached out to you because someone was teaching something or exhibiting something, and I reached out to you and I was like, I'm so grateful for us because it is not as common, or there's a bit of an antiquated perspective, I think, that using your psychic abilities or intuitive abilities, number one, that it's for the special and the gifted, and that you're born that way or you're not. Right. And that's not true. Every single human.
Yes.
And whether you are interested in enhancing the talent or not is totally up to you. It's not like everyone has to, but it is how we function. It is fundamentally, we are energy, and that's what we're talking about. Right. Changing energy from one form to another. That's what perceiving in the psychic realm or working in healing is. It's moving something from one state to the more whole state. And that's the first thing that is not common in the, I guess, mainstream perspective about this work, or this living, not even this work. And then the second is that you are somehow outside of the law, or, you know what I mean? Like, you can read people's minds and you can't help it. Things happen to you and you just know things about people that, you know, about their, and that's, those are, we say no, we say dominion, we say only when invited. Right. And yes, you can control it. Why? Because you have absolute free will. Yes. And so and now it may have seemed in the past like you can't control it. Like when I accidentally scraped someone's car because I wasn't paying proper attention. I did it by accident. I didn't do it on purpose. I couldn't control it. But in truth, I was too tired and I wasn't paying attention. And you know what I mean? Like, my life can be in perfect control. Not that we all need to be perfect, or that perfection is even something to strive for. But it is available to us. And that free will, absolute perfect free will means that I only can see Lauren's great-grandmother as a medium if I choose to. And I may have an unconscious poking around in her field.
Right.
Yeah.
But in truth, I need to rein that in.
Yes.
So these ethics are, I think, just so important. And I don't know anyone else who runs it quite so articulately the way that we understand it. You know what I mean?
Yes, agreed.
I know, just earlier. And what's funny is that we still, because we live this, we're not perfect, right?
Yeah.
When one time you weren't feeling well, and I go, oh, let me tap it. I was like, oh, I could feel it right away. And I thought, oh, she didn't ask me to tap in right away. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it's just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
That comes from you, I think.
Well, that's when I'm teaching people who are like, oh, I'm an empath and I'm feeling so much. I'm like, just because you can feel it doesn't mean you should feel it. Whether it's your sensitivity or if it's looking into, just because you can do it, just because you can look into someone else's field and, see their ancestors or whatever it is. I had in this class that I was in, and it was a different kind of personal development. It wasn't specifically like psychic development. And I'm really not trying to talk about someone unethically, but there was another student who found out what I did, and she's like, oh my God, yeah, I'm psychic too, and all this stuff. She wasn't a practitioner, but she was talking about like, yeah, I can't help it. I just wake up and there are all these things around. I'm like, okay, we don't have time to talk about that right now, but I love you. Nope, that's not true. We'll work on that. I'll pray for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm not to be condescending. I'm just joking. And so this person came in for a demonstration, and she turned to me and she goes, I mean, how do you like I can't even focus because all her ancestors are here. And I said, is it helpful for you to see that? Are you the one who is facilitating her right now? Or is this distracting, as you said? So if it's distracting, then it's not helping you or her. And she was like, oh, like it kind of, I wasn't being judgmental at all. I was trying to help, she was opened up to it. And it really was kind of like, because again, she sees other people and have heard in antiquity now, even though she's young, people like I'm not going to call out, the Long Island Medium or whatever on TV, and they're like, oh, I can't help it. You stranger in the store.
Right.
Yeah.
Your dad is here. And it's like, that's rude. Don't be, it's like picking up his phone and saying, oh, there's a text from your dad. Who said you could do that?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
it's
anyway,
funny.
sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm like listening now. I'm like picturing her doing that. But I often, like what we were talking about earlier is like having that sense of discernment or capacity to even understand that even if we do feel it, it has nothing to do with us a lot of times, and that we don't have to do anything about it.
Right.
That was one of the lessons that I had to learn like early on. My mom, when I first started opening, I was like, all the psychic abilities came through, and not for nothing, you're excited, you're fascinated,
yes,
you think, oh my gosh, because all of a sudden your sense of awareness gets bigger. And I used to talk about it as if I had 4 or 5 TVs on at the same time and trying to figure out what's going on with all of them. Yeah. That'll drain you, that'll make you really tired, that'll make you like really frustrated, very sensitive. So then you try to like shut them all off by going like this instead of just pressing the power button or turning,
you have the remote.
You have the remote.
Right.
And all the while.
And I definitely had to learn that. And in times of stress, like, of course, like you don't sometimes you get tired, you don't even realize, and you're like, oh, it's because I've been on too much, life happens. But this self-awareness has to come with practice and with teachers that like can tell you about that, so that you don't become like really, I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to go into like
scattered, fearful.
Because you're not useful,
overwhelmed.
You're not serving yourself, and you're not serving anyone.
Right.
If you're running that way. And what also will then help manage that, something that I had to learn, because you can doesn't mean you should, is the organizing, which what Bashar says, the organizing principle of the universe essentially is synchronicity. The field or the universe will bring to you. So if, like, as professionals, someone will message us on Facebook or say something and say, I have an emergency, a psychic emergency. It's 3 a.m. I need to talk to you right now, for example. Right. And you're at your, aunt's funeral. Obviously, the timing then isn't aligned, and that means that you are not their healer, because the synchronicity is not supporting it. But if you just because it's there doesn't mean that you're meant to serve it. It may mean that you're meant to release them, maybe for them to cross your field, and you have a prayer for them, and then they find the person who is available and appropriate to serve them.
Or they self-manage. They learn how to sit with whatever's going on and figure it out themselves.
Which is it's none of our business how they do manage it or find the right healer, whether the healer is themselves or someone else. But that's another thing that's really important to learn as we're talking about intuitive abilities, that synchronicity is in everything that makes it seemingly convenient, but you'll get the nudge. Sometimes it is obviously my ego that's like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to get out of bed today. But if it feels more right that I should get up and do the thing, then it does unfold in a beautiful way. But if the timing or whatever doesn't work out, or sometimes we do a lot of things for a charity for free.
Yes.
But something like monetizing something, that is actually the gateway of synchronicity. It means it's aligned or not aligned, because if we indulge someone's fear about money and give away too much of ourself to them, then we're not helping them.
And then we can't do anything. We can't do what we
do.
What we do, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, we are just about out of time.
Are we really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No way.
It's fast.
Did they go fast?
Did we talk about ascension?
Did we talk about
didn't even
ascension?
get
I
to
think so.
ascension.
Did we have a glass of wine? We have to do some
I
of
would
that.
love to do that.
That would be fun.
Are you kidding?
Well, maybe we'll come back tomorrow.
Yes.
Just turn on the mic. We don't even need Kurt here. We'll just turn it on.
worry, Kurt.
We'll get silly. Because then that way, what'd you say?
I said, don't worry, Kurt.
He's like, oh no, add wine to it. I know. They already said fuck.
I don't know.
And they told me I was cute.
Yeah. Well, you are.
He is cute.
Oh my God.
He's a cutie.
He is cute. Well, I know we wanted
yeah.
to talk a little bit about how to be in spiritual community and how to allow for all these divergent views and such in a loving way. I don't know that we have really.
Well, we could talk. Well, I think we did talk about ascension. We were talking about the kids, and we're talking. And I think being in spiritual community and being what it means to be both a leader and a student and a teacher all at the same time.
Yes.
But how to be in different. What were you? So say. Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, because you had some really good views earlier when we were talking about it.
What were they?
She does this all the time.
I mean, well, we're talking about how how people express their spirituality and if it's useful, if it's actually really helpful. And I think a lot of people get mobilized and activated by what's wrong in the world, what's not working out, and they put all their energy into talking about that, validating and affirming that amongst themselves without really setting their sights on what is possible and how to heal it, and how I think we kind of need to pivot as spiritual people away from getting in sort of the whirlwind or really the mud of the problem and point our interest at what's possible, what the highest version is. Where is the love in that? And how can I be the light in that? Because if you are down in the mud angry about how wrong everything is, you're just amplifying it. You're living your life in a miserable way probably. You're probably fairly angry. You're not really occupying the love that is the only thing that's going to be able to heal it, because hate's not going to drive out hate. So I think there's a lot of spirituality masquerading as spirituality, like just people being angry or feeling helpless and hopeless, not knowing how to change it. It's a huge problem, whatever they're focusing on, when they really don't have to do that. They don't have to figure out how to do that. They just have to figure out how to be love within themselves and how to be light within. It's very simple.
It's hard.
And the only you can do it.
Is because it's hard. The hardest thing for us is to let it be simple. Yes. Because of all the complexity.
Because it feels so overwhelming. But the answer is to find within yourself how you can align to love in the littlest ways and in the bigger ways if that becomes an opportunity. I feel like we're going into another election year here in the States. We have all kinds of division between groups of people. It's just important to focus on the simple answer.
Yeah.
Without bypassing the problem.
No,
right.
No,
Right. Because there's
that.
a difference between anger directing you towards what something, what is harming.
Yes.
And hostility being the answer to what is, you know what I mean? There's a difference between anger and hostility.
Absolutely. And I think anger is okay. I mean, scripture would say anger is okay.
It's
God
motivating.
is angry.
Yeah.
And in your anger, do not sin. And that's the rub is, can you be angry? Let it inspire you towards right action or alignment without tipping over into the sin part, which just means missing the mark.
Yeah.
I'm not helping. Now I'm part of the problem. So.
And when we were talking about in NLP, we talk about moving away from and moving toward. And that, so by like seeing, yes, these are the problems. This is the injustice, this is the pain. This is what needs healing, wants shifting. And that's the 3D. And we start there. That's the moving away from. Or we were even talking about in our personal lives too.
Yes.
My health isn't how I want it. I don't want to become sick, or I don't want to gain weight, or whatever it is. I want to be more healthy. And so I want to move away, and that's the acknowledgement of it. That is not spiritual bypassing, which means just to put your head in the sand and say love and light, but don't talk to me about it.
Right.
So there's a little moving away from energy to catalyze, or the anger or something like that to catalyze, but then you start moving toward. And that means bringing in healing. And the healing just naturally outseats the pain, the hurt. Yeah. You're smiling. So
well,
your
no, because
face
as
is
you were
so-
talking, it came to me that where we have like negligence of, that's a different type of energy, because you know what's going on and you're facilitating the problem, right?
Right.
But when you have the capacity to understand a problem, then you have room to grow into a solution that validates what it is you want to see in the world in love. Like in Christ consciousness, we're talking about ascension. Christ consciousness is the development of the mind, body, and spirit to coexist in brotherhood, in sisterhood, in love versus fear. Fear brings us to the pain body, where we operate from anger, existential crisis. I don't belong here. This is
separation.
Separation.
Not unity. Yeah.
And when we come together in community, we come together in that oneness that helps us to understand the truth of all beings, which is that, facilitating people's growth happens one stage at a time, but the support system of that increases its capacity to love versus the individual pursuing a fault in everyone else to attack for what they don't see as right or wrong, as same energy attracts same energy, which is, fear of who you are means I have to attack what you represent that is fearful to me.
Right.
And that's the cause of a lot of the disruption that we feel and sense and understand out in the world. But when we come back to togetherness, we have the space and the frequency of love that enables action towards change, towards facilitating, groups or paradigm shifts or whatever you want to call it, either in the physical, mental, and in history, it was always groups that facilitated a nuanced change before a government, before something would shift. And it happens individually, but individually we come together and
then we magnetize.
Where there is
Where two
where
or
there
more.
are two
Yeah.
That I got from you.
And also when we agree, when we have the agreement that this is what we intend to do and this is how we intend to shift it, the agreement right there seals the deal.
And so there is hope. You hold hope.
There's a lot of hope.
Yeah, and that's the thing that gets people who are sensitive is like how I take to my bed for 2 weeks because I see pain and suffering, for humans, for animals, for children. But if you have the hope and you vibrate to the hope, you will magnetize 2, 3, 4, a community. And like Lauren said, that then is how the change happens.
Yes.
So you hold that in yourself, and we are healing. We are always
Australian
healing.
fires.
Yes.
I mean, the rain. We all came together, like the global population. So many of us came together to visualize the rain, and it started to rain, and that's the kind of things that we can do, pointing our interest in the healing, and it's how we should. I just think that that's what our focus should be, not in what separates me from you, what makes me different from you, better or worse or whatever. It's really what unifies us. We're all on this planet together, the animals, the plants, the humans,
And we're all creating it,
Yes.
as you said.
Yes.
We were talking about, oh my gosh, how the population has almost tripled since in the last 50 years.
Since I was
not
born.
almost 2.5.
Yeah.
And in 100 years, I don't even know. I can't even do the math. And so we were just talking about, the population boom, and you said, but I'm identifying with it. I'm not saying there are people who are having too many children. Why are we? You only have one.
Why am I creating?
Why am I creating
because
all
we
of
are
these
all
children?
one. Why am I creating these
This
circumstances?
population, yeah.
What am I curious about as a soul? What are we all curious about as a soul that we are creating this experience?
Because we all decided to come and do this together.
Yeah. And I'm glad I'm doing it with you girls.
Me too.
I love you so much. I love the community that we have. I think it's such a special, wonderful place. And I love being able to foster. I love people being able to lay down their burdens or lay down their worries and their insecurities and get up and start healing, or get up and start sharing, or get up and start inspiring and really occupying the purpose why they came here. I just love to see that. And so I'm just proud of what we've done. I don't feel like I did it. I've always had people with me, And the more authentic you are, the more you draw those kinds of people to you. And so I'm really grateful for you girls.
I'm so grateful for you guys.
I love you so much. I love you so much. Cool things are going to happen. I know that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We should officially say hello to the Lightworkers Lab. Yeah. We love you guys so much. Yeah, yours is right there.
Oh, hi. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Well, with that, we truly have made I think we solved the world.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, next time I want to talk about cancel culture, though.
What
cancel culture? Cancel culture.
I really want to talk about that, but
that's
next
fun.
time we can do that.
Okay, cool.
I just really think spirituality and cancel culture, come on, y'all. We got to get that together.
That sounds awesome.
Next time.
All right, very soon. And so we want to encourage you to go read the page of the Intuitive Intensive. The link is in the description of this either podcast or YouTube, however you're watching. And just go read about it. It's a pretty thorough, the information page. It has a breakdown, a good overview of each week, the content that we're going to be immersing ourselves in. And we do offer the classes live 2 times per week. The times are posted there. And you do not have to be, I'm going to say this, but you have to say it every time, you do not have to be on the live classes in order to get the full benefit. But you do want to know that you're going to watch the replay of the class within a couple days, 2-3 days, something like that, because you can stay on pace with the program to receive the full benefit of how we're all co-creating it. The whole program is alive. That's how we say.
Yes.
It really is. And some people do actually just take it passively, and that's okay too. But I do want to say that because we have the classes at a certain time, and we have extra ones on that will show up as needed. That often happens, and we're flexible because we're co-creating it. But we're just there being alive together. And there are people who are in Japan, and there are people who are in completely opposite time zones.
India, UK, Australia, Mexico. Yep.
Yeah. It's more about just being, open to the commitment of being in the program as it's flowing. So, but we want to co-create with you. And as you say, it's an opportunity for all of us. Yeah. It really is.
Absolutely.
And you will probably be...
She's already in.
I am.
You're going to be teaching something, at least 1 or 2 somethings.
Well, I do the channeling part, which is
and
cool.
then sometimes you come in, if you're available, to facilitate the coaching. And,
fun stuff.
All right, then. Well, this is our episode then. Thank you so much for coming to
Thank
the
you for having us.
I know.
The beautiful studio.
It is beautiful.
It is. It's gorgeous.
No, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I mean, I only did this room, but the rest of it is beautiful, right? They don't even see. You don't even know what's going on outside that wall. It's pretty cool. My landlady, her name is Melanie Lewis. It's beautiful. All right, so that is it. And I want to thank you all so much for supporting by watching, commenting, liking, sharing. And reminder, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tricia Carr, or subscribe and review the podcast, however you get your podcast. We are there, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.